Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rhodey and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day guys and welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast. We are up to episode 3. We hope you guys have enjoyed episode 1 and 2, but we're going inland now, guys. We're going the river fishing edition, and we've got an absolute treat for you today, Kym Manning. He is an absolute champion. He's bloody doing some fantastic work with river fishing hotels and creating some habitat for the natives, and we can't wait to have a chat with him later on today's show. Rhodey, tell us about how the listeners can get involved.
So yes, guys, make sure you're on Facebook and Instagram, giving us a like, hitting us up with some comments, any questions you've got. We did put up a nice little picture on the weekend of our good mate Pez with a little callop he pulled out of the sticks. We're also going to get him on the episode later on to tell us about some river fishing we got up to over the weekend.
We cannot wait to hear from Pez. He's going to be sharing a great few yarns with us. Really enjoyable. All right, Rhodey?
Make sure, this is the time of year to be listening to podcasts. Self-isolating, locked in at home, absolutely nothing better to do with your time than listen to a few good fishing yarns. So make sure you send this around to all your mates. They're sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, pissing off their friends and family. So give them something productive to do and put them onto the podcast for us, guys.
That's for sure. And we're quite impressive setup we've got going here, mate. Remotely dialing in to do this thing here. We've got separate microphones. We're going to make sure it doesn't disrupt the listening too much, guys. We hope you enjoy. We're strictly following protocols here, making sure we maintain physical distancing and social isolation, so we hope you guys are too.
Now, Diz, tell us about your oranges and lemons for the week. All the listeners have been waiting to hear this.
Okay, guys, Latchy, you have put me under the pump here, mate, and I suppose I'll keep you happy with my orange. About a week ago, went down to Black Point, and unbelievably, Millie said yes when I asked her to marry me, so I suppose that's a obligation of mine that I had to put it on the orange. Rhodey, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, good work, mate. I'm a little bit disappointed at you for forgetting the key to the shack. So if she said yes despite all of that, I'm not sure what to make of it.
Oh, dear. Yeah, that was a bit of a F-U. All right, moving on to my lemon. Well, without a doubt, my lemon has to be that we don't have a big enough boat to maintain the isolation rules, and both of us can't go out. So that's absolutely disappointing. But we're just going to sit this one out and wait until, and then we'll get back on the fishing harder than ever. All right, Rhodey, you tell us about your oranges and lemons, mate. What's been happening in the orange?
Yeah, so my orange for the week was getting up to the river with the boys last weekend. We stayed at our good mate Fraser's shack, so thanks a lot to Michael and Kayleen, his parents, for putting us up for the weekend. So really good to catch up with all the boys, few beers, bit of fishing, bit of water sports before this coronavirus took hold and, sent us all home to hang out on our own. So good to have one last catch up with the boys.
That's for sure.
Lemon, I'm lost without footy. Nothing to watch on the telly. Nothing to really look forward to. A couple of replays of old games to get me through, but it's not quite the same, is it?
I think the highlight of the river fishing when the footy was cancelled, or postponed, I should say, until May, was you asking whether you can still sit down with Robbo and the boys on AFL 360 every night.
Fox Footy's only expanded its viewing, so it's getting me through at the moment. The Fox Footy Live they have on every afternoon, so once you've listened to the podcast, jump onto that. Not too bad.
Fantastic. Rhodey, give us an update. The coronavirus, mate. How's it affecting the fishing?
So, obviously the social isolation occurs to fishermen. So, for one person per 4 square metres. So if you are down the jetty or, on the beach or whatever it is in your boat, make sure you spread yourselves out. We don't want to get a bad rap and them to cut down the fishing altogether. They're probably at some point might put an end to it. But while it lasts, hopefully a few people are getting onto the fish.
Yeah.
I suppose the other thing is to take note that tackle stores will be closing at some point, so stock up on some gear to keep you busy. I went in and picked up a few new tackle boxes, thought I might reorganise my gear on the social isolation.
Good call.
The other thing is to keep in mind is Boyd Sparrow, episode 2's guest. His How's Your Tackle vending machines. That's probably your best bet to get some tackle and some bait.
For sure.
If and when we do go into a lockdown on tackle stores.
Yeah, that's for sure. And don't forget about Daniel Way from the Fishing Guru. Fantastic online tackle store. He's got some great gear there as well. And we're all spending a lot more time on the internet now, so you can surf the net, jump on his page and have a browse for anything you're interested in. All right, Rody, that just about wraps up our brief perspective on coronavirus. What about the fishing report? Tell us what's coming out of the water, mate.
Yep, so tuna, they still are there, but a bit more consistent across Victor Harbour and Yorks. Weather may be playing a part in this with maybe less boats getting out. Probably more consistent on the tuna front over on the Eyre Peninsula.
Yep, King George whiting, they're coming sort of scattered around the metro area. St Kilda and Brighton seem to be doing reasonably well. Corny Point, Point Vic, Port Vic and Port Hughes, some of those hotspots are still getting them. Dave, the old man, he got around it. Got a few tings with his mate down from Black Point, Port Julia, She-Oak, a few productive areas there. Got a few, nothing too much to brag about, but got a few.
Yep, blue swimmer crabs, St Kilda area and the east coast of York Peninsula, so Drossen and Port Vincent, so no doubt your old man got a couple of them too to keep him busy out of Black Point.
For sure, he loves getting the crab cooker out. Salmon, Port Lincoln National Park, southern beaches of KI, starting to show down the bottom end of the York Peninsula, and again, Dad went and flicked a few lures off the point at Black Point, got onto a few there, really good smoked.
Sounds to me like I should have your old man on the fishing podcast rather than you, mate. He's catching all the fish in the family.
Mate, he's got all the time in the world isolating himself over there.
Anyway, rat kingfish in West Lakes. I've seen some videos and heard some reports that there's plenty there, but no one can catch them. So if you think you're a bit of a king fisherman, jump in there and have a whirl. Also at Rapid Bay Jetty, but again, difficult to hook. Garfish over on Copper Coast beaches, so over sort of Moonta Way, there's been a few of them getting around. Mullet, bottom end of York Peninsula, they'll start to run in. So Marion Bay and Browns Beach, probably your hotspots. And down your neck of the woods, Dizzy at Port Noarlunga, so you could nip down there after work at the pharmacy and get yourself some mullet.
Yes, for sure. Kingfish and Samson's, still seeing a few reports and some photos coming offshore from Coffin Bay. Callip, Warren Reservoir and scattered along the Murray. Murray cod past Renmark, but the border closure is certainly going to limit anglers accessing waters where they usually might.
Our guest coming up, Kym, I think he often crosses the border to catch a few Murray cod and Callip, so he might have to rein in the fishing a little bit over there as well.
That's for sure. There's some good news coming out of the fishing news segment this week, guys. So, Rhodey, tell us what's happening down the Lower Murray.
Yep, so the Lower Murray Lure Fishing Club, round 4, the Bassman Challenge, was planned for April 4th at Cadell. That's had to be cancelled due to coronavirus. And the May Callip Classic is also in doubt. So as with everything, fishing is taking a bit of a hit with this coronavirus. But hang tight, folks. It'll be all the better once we get back on the water. The Riviera Port Lincoln Tuna Classic was held over the weekend. They got just in before the ban. So Ian Montgomery was the overall champion angler. He caught 19 tuna, which is a bloody good effort.
It is.
He was on the Layla Jane. That team also took out the heaviest fish award with a 15.8 kilo fish. Overall champion boat was the Longshot with 45 tuna caught, and one of their crew members, Emma Forster, caught 5 fish herself to be the champion female angler. So some really good fishing there, and another shout out from that comp to Oscar Dade. He was the champion junior aboard Galaxy Star, and he pulled in 3 tuna. So the young fella must have had some sore arms after that.
Oh, for sure. I saw some footage of the boats heading out there over the weekend, and God, that was a sight seeing some of those big Rivieras cruising out there. That would have been really good to be a part of. Certainly don't have the cash to buy one of those boats, but it'd be on the bucket list to get out amongst it with one of those big boats one day.
You don't reckon the little Quintrax could compete over there?
Oh, I don't think so, mate. I reckon their wakes would just about flip us. All right, the National Recreational Fishing Survey for the 2019-2020, that is out now. For you to contribute your recreational fishing experience, get amongst it, share your experiences that you've had. We're going to post the link on our Facebook page and be really good to get some of your opinions. We really need to get amongst this, guys, because it makes for that the advisory council and some of those people can make some better decisions about how we treat recreational fishermen in the state.
Now, down in the southeast of the state, an interstate fisherman was fined $375 for illegally taking snapper from Cape Douglas.
And so he should have been.
So this was discovered during a routine fisheries inspection, and this fella did not have any snapper fishing tags. So just to show they are taking that seriously, and a reminder to do the right thing to protect the snapper fishery and avoid any legal trouble. So certainly good to see that that's being taken seriously. So while we're not allowed to catch any fish, let's really crack down on it and make sure no one's doing any of that sort of activity.
For sure, Rody. The 2020 Commonwealth Fly Fishing Championship. That was held over the weekend in New Zealand. Who won it, Rody?
So South Australia's own Leuben Pfeiffer took out the individual gold medal and was also a part of the men's silver medal winning team, which was won by the folks of Northern Ireland. Leuben's wife, Casey, finished 7th in the individual comp and took out the gold medal in the women's category. So we are certainly going to follow their progress as a couple of great South Australian fisher people, and we'd love to get them on the show in the future. So really great effort by those two, and a great fishing couple from South Australia.
Shout out to Rishi. He'd be awfully jealous, I would have thought.
Does rate himself as a bit of a fly fisherman, so we might see him in the next edition.
Yes, we might. But that just about wraps up the fishing news for today, guys. So, thanks very much. And we're going to move on to the next segment.
All right, so guys, we're going to be joined today by another great guest for episode 3. This gentleman is a Riverland native, and he ran the Top Catch tackle store at Barmera for a number of years. So we often popped in there on our way up on some river fishing trips, stocked up with some bait, lures, and a bit of goss on where the fish are biting. Since he retired recently, and he has only got more and more into creating natural habitat for the river fish up there in the Riverland, as he calls them, his fish hotels. So we're going to catch up with Kym and hear all about this. All right, and welcome to All the Gear But No Idea from the Riverland. Our guest for today's episode, Kym Manning. Welcome aboard, Kym.
Good morning, man. How are we?
I'm good, mate. How are you? How's things in the Riverland during this time of lockdown?
Not too bad at the moment, but I know things are starting to move pretty rapidly. I was in Adelaide last Wednesday. I think there were 30 people in the state. Now there's 300, so
Wow.
they're moving pretty quick.
That's for sure. Kym, if you don't mind, mate, I reckon we're going to rip into the 5 questions that we ask every guest. So tell us about your best fish, mate.
Probably not the biggest fish, but my favourite fishing photo is a barramundi that I caught up at Weeper about 2 years ago. It was only 80 centimetres, but that was a thrill to catch a nice barramundi, that's for sure. So that's probably my favourite pick, yeah. What
about, just on that, you caught many Murray cod up there in the Riverland?
I'm not a real Murray cod chaser, to be honest. I've caught a few. We got 3 about 2 weeks ago. That was over the border at Ned's Corner, but nothing to brag about.
Yeah.
I haven't hit the metre yet, so I don't. Yeah, probably because I don't chase them a great deal. I don't use big lures a lot. I chase mainly carp. I know cod stress pretty easy, so that's probably the reason why I don't like to mess with them too much.
No, fair enough. Doing the right thing. What's your favourite thing about fishing, Kym?
I just like getting away from it all. We had a business where it was a 7-day-a-week business that I think you guys said you'd been into. It was a fishing tackle shop and a servo at Barmera.
Yeah.
7-day-a-week and pretty stressful sort of business. And when I go out fishing, mate, I just don't think about anything else. It's just a release to get away from the rest of the world. And it's very peaceful.
That's for sure. Couldn't agree with you more there. And yeah, definitely right about stressful running a business. It would be great to be on the other side of that now, mate, and get to enjoy a bit of time out in the water.
It is. I'm loving it.
For sure.
I feel very blessed to have sold last year before coronavirus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll bet. Kym, tell us about your first fishing memory, or what sort of initially got you into fishing.
Probably one of my first memories was catching a big callop down by Loveday camping with my parents when I was younger. Just the thrill of catching a good edible fish when you're a kid. Another one that I remember was walking home from the jetty when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, catching a redfin off the local jetty down in Barmera on the lake. The lake used to be full of redfin back in the 70s and 80s when we had regular floods, and the 90s they got a bit further apart, and then they blocked off the lake, and I haven't seen a redfin since they blocked off the lake. or was that about 2010? Yeah, and I walked home with the redfin on the end of the rod. Didn't know how to get it off, so I was pretty pleased to bring that home to Dad. He was stoked.
And what's your favourite sort of fishing? Would we gather that's your callop fishing up in the Riverland, or what do you like to do?
Yeah, I like casting lures. I really enjoy the hands-on of casting lures. I picked up 2 last night down at Overland Corner, one jig and a jackal and another one just on the troll, but I do like casting. And I go up to Cairns reasonably regularly. I've got a mate up there and we head out on the reef pretty much most of the time that we go up there. So I love the reef fishing as well.
Yeah.
Very good. And
Talking about your lure fishing, what do you have your most luck on? Jigging the jackal type lures or the trawling? Or
for me, probably the Daiwa RPMs are probably the hot lure for me up here. And I've got a lot of people onto these little Daiwa RPMs. They're a little crankbait. I don't know what it is about them, but they work fantastic. I had a mate, he was in a kayak probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now, just trolling for callop, and he pulled a metre cod out of his kayak just out of the dog. So there's still some meteries around, but they're a good little lure and they've got a good set of trebles. They cast really well. They're quite aerodynamic. I like the orgies as well, but they tend to float a little bit in the breeze. I find they've got a bit of a flat surface where the RPMs are more spherical and a bit aerodynamic. Yeah, good lure. RPM, dial RPM. Look them up.
We'll have to get ourselves a couple to help us out.
what's your rod and reel outfit, Kym?
Call Barramundi on them too. I've got Daiwa gear. I've got Daiwa rods. And I've got 3 Abu Garcia Revos. Revos have got a massive drag on them, so if you're chasing anything that's of decent size, use them out on the reef as well. Good for sea fishing and just local stuff. You don't need big drag for callop though.
Yeah. I've actually got one of those Revos too. They're good.
Yeah, good. And I've got Daiwa Chichula rods. Super high volume carbon in them, so excellent, lightweight, strong, great rod.
For sure. Kym, now sort of cast your mind back to one of your funniest fishing stories, mate, or tell us about the one that got away.
One of the stories I've got, which was probably might lead into your next question, I'm not too sure. It was down at Carapco Creek. There's a little place called what we call the Stone Weir, so there's a pile of rocks that go across the creek. And it's probably the only place where there's a bit of whitewater up on the Murray in South Australia. So it's a bit of a fish barrier.
Okay.
But it's a great place for casting lures, especially if you're learning to cast. So anyhow, I was there one day flicking lures and done a big long cast. And as I cast, a black pelican flew in front of me and the line went over his wing. Of course, as he's flying, the line eventually pulled the lure out of the water and I hooked a full-grown pelican with a lure, dropped him to the ground and dragged him in gently and had to get the lure out of his wing. So, yeah, that was one of the funny stories that I've had there. I also, once the same place too, I didn't take a set of pliers or a net and I dragged a big carp up and I thought, how am I going to get this set of trebles out of his mouth? So I thought, I'll put my foot on his head, tried to hold him still and went to pull the trebles out. As I pulled, he flipped and the treble went straight through my finger. So I was hooked, the barb went straight through, I was hooked straight to the fish and the fish is still flapping and thank God there was a bloke about 50 metres away. He had a set of pliers, so we cut the barb off and just pulled it back out.
Oh dear.
All right, now Kym, we wanted to chat to you today about your fish hotels. So can you tell us about what you're doing up there in the Riverland to create a bit of habitat for the natives?
Yeah, I guess it started off with the SA Carp Frenzy. It was a fundraiser that we did. So instead of running this is how the Carp Frenzy started. So it started off, we had to do a fundraiser for Save the Lake Group, and so we started a fishing competition. Now, when the money we made out of that first fishing competition, we built the first ever 35 fish hotels in South Australia. We put those in Lake Bonnie, and then we got a grant for $20,000 to continue a little bit, and we ended up building 90 fish hotels in Lake Bonnie. And I constantly keep my eye on what's happening in Victoria, New South Wales with the recreational fishing licences. They build some fantastic stuff over there.
Yeah.
I guess I was a bit despondent about what was happening in South Australia, so another grant came out where you could get $100,000, and I don't know who else put in for it, but we applied for one. We got $60,000.
Yeah.
So we built the biggest man-made structure in the Murray-Darling Basin. That was a ginormous 10-ton sort of a fish hotel structure.
Was that the big root? The big root you put in the water?
No, that's not that one. No, this was like a fish hotel, but it weighed 10 tonne. It built out of big logs.
Yeah.
And there was two big structures together that were bolted together with 3/4 stainless steel rods and tree branches to make it look a bit more natural.
Yeah.
There's a link if you go to Kym Manning YouTube, you'll find it's all on there. I've tried to document all the stuff. That was the first one that was ever put in the Murray, and to my knowledge, that was not only the biggest, but it was the first fish reef ever to put in South Australian waters. And then with that grant, then I've had enough money and I've put in 5 full red gums. Now, in all the structures that I put in big concrete pipes that are about 2 or 3 feet across. We punch holes in them, strap them into the tree or the hotel with stainless steel strapping so they don't fall out. And these are homes for Murray cod like hollows, and the rubble that is knocked out of the holes that lands on the bottom of the pipe, I put a cement slurry over that because they like a gravelly bottom. So that makes it look a little bit more natural. So we've put in 6 big reefs in the Murray around the Cobby, Kingston area, and in those reefs there's 14 big pipes that are hopefully Murray cod habitat.
Yeah, amazing. Geez, you've done some work on getting the habitat going for the natives, Kym. That's fantastic, mate. So
I think the hotels that were put in the lake took me 3 years, and this last one, off and on, has sort of taken about a year and a half with the 6 big trees and the 5 big trees and the big hotel, the 10-ton hotel.
We'll have to get the link off you for that big hotel and share that on our social media. We've already put a few of the red gums up, but it'd be good to show the listeners what we're talking about.
Yep, I can flick that to you.
That'd be good. What about the smaller ones you've got in Lake Bonnie that have now been there for a few years at least?
Yep.
How much success have you had fishing those spots?
Yep, definitely. I had one guy actually caught 5 callop. I'm pretty protective about these spots, not that I can control it. They do have buoys on them, so they are meant to be able to fish on. Because there's not a massive amount of callop in Lake Bonnie, there's a lot of carp in there. I try and get people to catch and release in there, but I can't. I don't have the say over that. If people want to keep them, they can keep them. But you're just depleting the stocks in there. But I always find in the lake they're always a good sized callop too. I don't think they breed in there, but I think they come up Chambers Creek when there's a flood and the water is coming into the lake. They come in with the fresh water and they end up staying there because there's a lot of feed in there, a lot of piebary in there, bony brim piebary, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, Kym, this is obviously a passion of yours, having done it now for quite a few years. What's in the pipeline, mate? What's coming next?
A damn good break, mate. I've started this in about 2013, I think I started, and I've only just finished a month ago. So I've done 7 years of habitat, and it's taken up a lot of my spare time. I have had help, in particular with the 90 hotels. There was a group of about 20 of us that did it on weekends when we could get a weekend off. Mind you, I was working weekends as well, so I didn't have a lot of time.
No.
There was also a separate group that helped with the big man-made structure, the biggest in the Darling Basin. The trees, I've done most of it myself. There's not a lot of work on there to do. Clive Baxter, a mate of mine from Monash, helped me a bit. And it's just the logistics of getting something that size out to the river we use a 100-ton crane, as I've seen on your photos. So, big crane. We mount some pipes in it, lift them straight over the top of the red gums that are on the bank. It's quite spectacular to see, actually.
Yeah.
And the spots are all GPSed with buoys on them. I had the GPS. There's quite a lot of paperwork you have to go through to get to that stage. So it's not, you can't just chop a tree down and go and plonk it in the river.
No.
This is all done through Juna and DIPTI and all the government departments that have got a finger in the pie there. So it's a lot. There's a lot involved in it.
Few hoops to jump through to get to that stage, I imagine.
What was that? Sorry.
Then there must be a lot of hoops to jump through.
There was, and the funding. I had a guy that was going to do the funding for me. He had a stroke, so we're sort of running out of time. Eventually, I got in contact with Ozfish Unlimited, a national habitat group. They jumped in and got the funding for me real quick. So we applied for it and won the funding, but then we had to finish the process. And Ozfish Unlimited were fantastic and helped us finish that off. So we did achieve getting $60,000 out of 100. So. Yeah, it was good.
And were you able to choose exactly where you wanted to put them, Kym, in terms of where you thought the fish would live, or was it pretty hard to get your spots, or how did it work with that?
I'm looking for places that are not super deep. They don't have a super steep bank, because if you drop a red gum in there, it's just probably going to slide down.
Yes.
The other thing is we chop the red gums down, keep them green as we can, so they sink well. The other purpose that the pipes are on there for, they're a weight, so we put 1.5 to 2 ton of concrete on them. That was part of the stipulation of Juna and the government departments, was that I either had to put a weight on them, or I had to put a spike in. So they wanted a big pine post, I suppose, with a spike on it, and I had to get a hydraulic ram on a barge or something and ram them in so they don't drift away, because if they drift away in high flows and it hits a boat or somebody gets hurt, I'm in trouble, mate.
Yes.
So we've got 2 ton of concrete, roughly 2 ton of concrete on the bottom of these. One of them's probably got about 3 or 4 ton of concrete. That's the big man-made one. But yeah, I had the GPS to spots, tell them exactly how I'm going to do it, photograph. I used my sounder to map the bottom of the river to show them the contours of the river. You had to make sure there's no other snags, so you don't drop it on another snag.
Yeah.
The logistics of getting under power wires and wide loads and escorts, wide vehicle signs and all this sort of stuff. There's a fair bit in it. It wasn't not just a matter of chopping a tree down and dragging it in the river. It's quite a bit involved in it, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Kym, you must have a pretty good sounder, mate. You got a nice boat, or what's the go there?
Before I got out of the shop, mate, I bought the latest Helix 8. So it's not the biggest sounder, but it does mapping.
Yeah.
Very good.
But I had before I had that, I had a mate that got some sort of program. It's a bit of a whiz on the sounder. He came and actually did mapping for me for the first ones. So,
very good.
But now a lot of the sounders do mapping for you, but I didn't have that at that stage. But I had a mate that knew how to do it. So we did mapping with all your contours. I think it showed about every 100 mil or something like that. Builds a contour, just like out in the sea,
Yes.
Contours.
Yeah, for sure.
And Kym, tell us about your time running the Top Catch tackle shop in Barmera. You would have really known where the fish were biting back in the day, I imagine.
You do. I don't mind having a chat, mate, and a lot of people give away their spots and tell you what lures, whether a bait or lures or what's going. And I've actually learned a hell of a lot. I was just probably a mud fisherman beforehand. I wouldn't say I'm an expert now, but I certainly learn a lot of different places, and just by spending time out on the river, you do learn an area. Basically the same as the sea, I suppose. You can't just go out in the sea and expect to catch fish. You really need to know the area, and the river's exactly the same. You know where the snags are that are underwater that most people don't see. I've got a Minn Kota with spot lock on it now, the latest gear, so you can just spot lock on a snag that's underwater that if you don't have spot lock, you really can't fish on it. So it doesn't matter if the wind's blowing or the river's flowing, the spot lock will hold you pretty well on the spot within a metre or so anyhow.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, I have learned a lot in the shop. You learn a lot about the lures, the fishing equipment, rods and reels. There's a bit in it.
There is. And Kym, what sort of boat have you got?
You don't have to have the best. You don't have to have the top quality stuff to catch fish.
Yeah, that's for sure. You just got to have the patience sometimes, don't you?
You do, man. I just go out there just to relax sometimes.
That's it.
Catch anything.
That's it. Kym, what sort of boat have you got?
I got a Quinch Utrecht Hornet Trophy,
Yeah.
475. It's a nice boat. I'd love to know more about the sea, but it's not really built for the sea. It's really a river or barra boat.
Yeah.
It doesn't like the slop and the chop. It's probably all right up to about 10 or 15 knots maybe of breeze. I have been 20 k's out to seeing it, but it was like glass. So
Yeah.
it's a fantastic stable riverboat. You can put 2 people on or 3 people on one side, and it really doesn't tip and rock much. It's got quite a flat rear end on the boat.
Perfect for what you need.
On it. It's not too bad. It boogies along about 50, 55 k's. That's not too bad.
And Kym, getting towards the end, what do you think? What do you think about river fishing in general? Do you think it's on the improve? We probably seem to think we catch a few more natives now compared to carp. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, I think it depends a lot on your bait. If you use worms, I think you'll catch carp. You might be lucky and catch some callop, but I always think worms, you catch carp. That's what they're always looking for. Shrimp, which is the native fish bait, you can catch carp on them, not as often as you do with worms. Shrimp is the bait for Murray cod and callop. And look, the fishing in the river can depend on a hell of a lot. It can be good today and it can be gone off tomorrow. They fiddle with the lots, they let flows come down or they stop flows. It can switch off the fish just like switching off a light switch. So if the water's consistently flowing at a nice meandering slow pace, generally it's fairly consistent. But if they let some water out or shut it off, you basically shuts the fish down. With a flood, as soon as we get a flood, the fish breed very prolific, and that's when, if anyone's keen on yabbies, if there's a flood in the Murray and you want yabbies, that's when you can catch buckets and bucket loads. But if we don't have a flood, you're really not going to catch a lot of yabbies.
Yeah, no, good to hear that those tips for us, Kym. Hopefully, get a few of the listeners onto some more natives.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
There is plenty of fish around, so don't think there's no fish in the river because there's plenty in there.
Now, thanks for joining us, Kym, and telling us all about your fish hotels and your time fishing in the Riverland. Sounds like some really good work you've been doing, and all us, fishers are very thankful for you putting in the hard yards and making fishing in the state a better place.
No worries. Thanks for having me, and I just wish we had fishing licences like the eastern states where they had money to spend on fish habitat, and not only just in the Murray. You can build reefs in the sea. They build these big, massive concrete structures 5 metres high. After a few years, the barnacles and the weed and stuff starts to grow around and it attracts fish. So the eastern states are doing all this sort of stuff. I think there's one going out at Ardrossan somewhere that somebody started, which is an interesting one. But yeah, I'd like to see fishing licence. I know a lot of the salties think they play enough down at boat ramps, but it's a small fee, $35 a year or $30 a year. You can't even buy a carton of beer for that. You wouldn't whinge about $30 for a carton of beer, so why should you whinge about a fishing licence?
But it certainly all adds up if every fisherman chips in, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. We fished the Windara Reef down there at Rogues Point a couple of weeks ago, and we couldn't agree with you anymore, mate. I think a fishing licence would be great for the rec fishos all across the state.
Yep.
Fantastic, Kym. Can't thank you enough again, mate. Really appreciate you sharing a few stories, and we'll post that link up on Facebook, and keep doing what you're doing, mate. But most importantly, enjoy your time out in the water.
No worries. Thank you very much, fellas. Have a good day. Stay safe and clean.
Thanks, Kym.
Cheers, Kym. Bye.
Catch you, boys. See ya.
All right, Kym. Thank you very much. You're absolute legend of the Riverland. Really appreciate you coming on the show today, mate. We're going to move on now to Pez. Adam Perryman, our fantastic mate. He is a river fishing specialist. Outdid us on the river over the weekend. He absolutely loves it. Pez, introduce yourself, mate.
G'day, boys. How you going? Yep, Adam Perryman, obviously known as Pez, and had plenty of good fishing times with used to along the river and in the boat.
Yeah, certainly did, and he was up on the river with us over the weekend and took the mickey, pulling a nice little fish out of the sticks, nice little callop, and caught a few carp to keep us busy as well. So he is a bit of a river guru.
All right, Pez, tell us about your best fish, mate. We're getting straight into the 5 questions.
Yeah, look, I probably haven't caught too many massive fish. Haven't got onto the tuna like you boys, but I guess my biggest fish was probably sort of like a 80 centimetre snapper there at Wallaroo. Went out on a charter there last year with my brother. And yeah, we got onto some nice big snapper there, and it was a bit of a thrill going in probably an 80 centimetre snapper there. I think it was with Captain Cook Fishing Charters, so yeah, went out with them for the day and brought in a heap of snapper and cooked up the smaller ones. They ate beautifully, but yeah, nice to get onto a bigger one, and yeah, gives you a bit of a fight, which gets the heart rate going a bit.
Yeah, you're certainly a good chance of catching a fish out on a charter boat compared to when Dizzy's skippering.
Yeah, it's tough work with you boys. Fishing with boys snapper a number of times, and done okay, but plenty of times we've come home with nothing. But I think that's everyone.
Yeah. All right, Pez, what's your favourite thing about fishing, mate?
I guess it's just being out on the water, getting away from sort of everyday life. You know, I guess when you're out on the water or got a rod in your hand, you sort of none of your issues or dilemmas in life seem to worry, and everything's pretty carefree out there. And if you catch a fish, I guess it's a bit of a bonus. And usually there's plenty of decent banter flowing along, especially if you've had a few beers the night before or something, and there's always a few good stories out in the boat, and everyone's laughing. So yeah, I guess it's just getting away from it all and having a rod in the hand.
Certainly, and it's really good to watch when Roddy gets seasick, isn't it, Pez?
Yeah, we might touch on that a bit later, actually.
I think so. We'll leave that for the segment later. Tell us about your first fishing memory, mate, or what did get you into fishing?
I guess none of my sort of parents really were into fishing that much, but I used to go camping with my cousins along the Glenelg River, which is sort of the southwestern border of South Australia or Victoria. So yeah, I used to go camping on there, and we used to sort of just chuck the rods out and catch little bream off the little jetties along the river. And all the adults had to, bait up the worms on the hooks and take the fish off the hooks for us, which would have been a pain in the ass. But yeah, they were the glory days, and I guess that was my first memory of fishing. And I guess I also had a couple of uncles that had boats, and they'd quite often would put the cray pots out and would go around checking them and do a bit of whiting fishing and hopefully get a few crays now and again. But yeah, I guess they were my earliest memories of fishing. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds good, Pez. Plenty of good fish down in the southeast where you grew up, so a good spot to start your fishing journey. Now, what is your favourite sort of fishing and why?
I love me whiting fishing. I guess, just a great species to chase. Usually if you get a couple, you'll get, somewhere close to the bag, but, easily accessible fish, and of course, really good table eating fish as well. It keeps everyone involved, and everyone can sort of do it. And I sort of got a bit of a thing for Murray cod fishing, even though I haven't really caught a cod. But I guess it's just it's a really difficult species to chase, and it's a really big challenge and try and catch a good one out of the river. I know you've caught one out of a dam, but I guess that's a bit of a different story. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, with no footy on and things like that this year, we might be able to chase a cod in the river and catch one.
Yeah, it could be our year, I reckon, mate.
Absolutely.
Catch a big one.
Absolutely. Now, Pez, I'm a bit nervous about this next question, mate, because it might include Rhodey or I, but what is your funniest fishing story, or tell us about the one that got away?
I don't know. I guess there's a lot of them, but I don't know how many you can share on this sort of platform. But yeah, we might go one of the more recent ones, I guess. We're on the river there last week. Where were we? Down at Scotts Creek, and I think we just pulled up to a snag, and we were fishing in the morning, and it was a bit slow. And as sort of, I don't know, half an hour went by, the captain of the vessel sort of said he was starting to feel a bit sick, and next thing you know, he's sort of bloody head over the water and bringing up last night's dinner. So certainly the first time I've seen someone be seasick on the river. I never knew that was a thing, but I guess next time we go out there, a few quells might be needed for the skipper. I'll let the viewers work out who it was, but the listeners, sorry. But yeah, that was quite funny, and many other ones similar to that. Like I know we fished along the Murray there once in the backwaters, and we'd had a few beers because we're fishing from the bank, and around the campfire, had a bit of dinner, and suddenly, I don't know, someone brought the Bundy overproof out, and a few jugs of that went down, and all of a sudden one of us is asleep, and we all continued yapping for about an hour, and then the bloke that'd fallen asleep had suddenly woken up and rolled down the hill because we're sort of fishing on a bank and ended up sort of in the water when he woke up. So that was quite funny as well. But
I remember throwing Rhodey a towel after he fell.
That's a stitch up. I've never seen Dizzy look so scared when his face came out of the water that night.
Yeah, it certainly was very funny, but good times.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, now Pez, on the weekend, tell us about the fishing. A little bit slow, but you got a callop and we got a few carp between us, so good to get on the water. Tell us about the weekend, mate.
Yeah, as I've mentioned before, we're down at Scott's Creek with at our good mate's Fraser's shack. So yeah, I guess a big shout out to Michael and Kayleen for having us down there. And I guess the fishing was a bit slow. I think we got up early there a few of the mornings and tried to get out and about before the speedboats owned the water. But yeah, we were lucky enough to get onto one yellow belly, I guess. I think we just caught that on shrimp in the end, but we were certainly chucking a few hard body lures and jackals, trying to lure a couple out off the sticks. But yeah, it was nice to get onto one native at least, and the carp are hard to come by as well. So usually they're in abundance, but maybe that's a good sign. The natives might be taking over and the carp are diminishing in numbers. But certainly had better weekends on the fishing front. But it's always good to be out in the water nonetheless. And got a few yabbies as well, which was good.
Yeah, but wasn't through lack of trying. And having just chatted with Kym Manning, who's much more of a river expert than us, he mentioned the jackal lures and thought the shrimp were the go to get on the native. So it did sound like we were doing quite a few things right. So maybe it's just luck of the game.
Yeah, we probably had a few too many on the boat there that was not that keen on fishing as well. They sort of get in your road and make a bit of noise. And, they just, more of a hassle at times, I reckon. But anyway.
And I suppose, Pez, the other spot we've done a lot of our river fishing would be up the Mullaroo Creek, up past Renmark. So tell us about why we love going up there, mate.
Yeah, I guess we went up there one time. We'd sort of been doing a bit of research on, where the Murray cod might be, and it looked like a bit of a breeding zone for Murray cod. So we went up there. I think it was just yourself, Matt Rode and myself went up there, and it's really, really wild up there. Wildlife everywhere. We saw a couple of eagles. Looked like we might have come across a dingo. Kangaroos everywhere. It's
goannas and emus swimming across the river.
Yeah, you really see it all up there. But yeah, the fishing was quite good. We managed to catch, I think it was a little cod on that trip, which was a bit of a thrill. It was under 50 centimetres, but you got to start somewhere, I guess.
You do.
Yeah, exactly. And got a few yellow belly on the trip, and sort of did a bit of creeking. We're pretty good at that, sort of exploring the creek and probably doing a bit of damage to your boat, but I guess it's not my boat, so I'll let you fix that.
It's pretty wild taking the Renegade down some of those little creeks when Rhodey's driving by feel, isn't it, Pez?
Yeah, sort of Rhodey he doesn't have the best eyesight, old Rhodey, so he sits up the back there and just says he drives by feel. So every time he hits a little snag, he sort of tries to lift the motor up. But it's good fun up the Mullaroo. It's pretty isolated up there, and I think there's a few cod up there, but we're not the best at getting them just yet.
No, we've got that one, Pez, and we'll be sure to share that for the listeners during the week to go with our river episode. Don't you go back talking down our Murray cod, mate.
Yeah, we'll get there, mate. We'll get there.
And the other place where we hear you do a lot of fishing is up at your property you live on up at the up in the Barossa, mate.
Yeah, so I live up in Anguston, and we've got the North Para River that flows through the property. It's probably lacking a bit of water at the moment. We do need some rain up this way, but there's a good population of redfin in that river, and it's always nice nipping down after work throughout the week and having a crack at the redfin. Sort of predominantly just fish with lures up there, and seem to have a bit of success on the sort of the Z-Man, sort of yummy and shrimp imitations with the soft plastics, and got a couple of Rapala sort of hard body lures that seem to do the trick. Caught quite a few on them, so it's a really cool place to fish. The sort of little pools that build up along the river, and it's good to flick a few lures into them. You sort of got to be a bit sneaky about it because it is a bit of sight fishing as well. You can actually sometimes see the fish, and I time I could see the fish and it wasn't actively feeding, but I managed to get the lure right to its mouth, and it just sort of opened its gob and in it went and caught it like that. And it was pretty cool seeing it, the whole process of catching that one. But certainly a good part of the world. And there's actually a guy called, for all the fishermen out there, they'd probably know him, Leuben Pfeiffer. He's used to do a bit of electrical work on the farm, and he's a bit of a guru in the fishing circles. I don't actually really know him myself, but he comes in and absolutely pillages them, so he makes me look pretty bad. But I sort of try to follow his Instagram and see what lures he's using.
Yeah, we actually touched on Leuben earlier in the episode, Pezza. He won the title over there in the fly fishing competition. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. He's certainly living the dream, that fella. If you follow him on Instagram, he looks like he's been living in a van over the last few months, just fishing every day. And
yeah, so him and his...
the dream.
Yeah.
Pez, one last quick thing, mate. One thing you're certainly quite handy at is getting that drone out and about. When are we putting a drop fishing bait and taking that down to the beach and doing some beach drone fishing?
Yeah, there was a bit of talk of taking it down to Salt Creek there a couple of months ago when we went down there, but it didn't quite get off the ground, and I had a few technical difficulties with the drone. So I think I've sorted that out, and yeah, I'll have to get one of those. I don't know what they're called, little gannets.
Yeah. We'll put it on the
Get
bucket
one of
list
them.
anyway.
Yeah, get it out there, because certainly looks pretty cool, some of the fish they catch off the drones. And I guess it's something to say you've done, caught a fish by drone fishing.
Yeah, certainly.
Sure.
Now, Pez, we thought we're just about at the end of our time for today, but we thought we might get you to hang around because I've got one of the great fishing gags to read out to you all. And Dizzy tends to give me shit feedback on it, so we thought you might give us a level-headed opinion on give it a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Pez,
I'll prepare my fake laugh then.
Pez, you also need to give the listeners a quick update on how to get around us on Facebook and Instagram, mate. You've been doing a great job of it.
Yeah, so I think all you need to do is take your photo on Instagram of your catch and tag all the gear.
All underscore the underscore gear underscore.
Underscore no underscore idea by the sounds of it. There's a few too many underscores in there, but tag your fish in there, I reckon, and get a bit happening on the socials there. Love seeing everyone's catches, and I'm sure they're a lot better than mine anyway.
Yeah, and we'll certainly give you a share if you send us in a few good ones, so make sure you get on board with that.
All right, Rody, hit us with the joke, mate.
All right, guys, so a drunk ice fisherman drills a hole into the ice and peers into it. As he does so, a loud voice from above says, "There are no fish down there." So the drunk fisherman walks several yards away and drills another hole. As he peers into it, he again hears a voice say, "There's no fish down there." So this time he walks 20 yards away and drills another hole. Once again, the voice says, "There's no fish down there." The fisherman looks up to the sky and asks, "God, is that you?" "No, you idiot," says the voice. "It's the rink manager."
That's awful.
I think that's one of my best, guys.
That is awful.
I'll have to listen back to that one because I sort of zoned out halfway through it. But,
Who can blame you? Good stuff. All
All
right.
right.
Well, thanks a lot, Pez. Really great to have you on the show. Thanks again to Kym. He was really good to tell us about his fishing hotels. And, take Pez's advice, guys. Get amongst the socials and enjoy it. Rody?
Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Jump on the Instagram and the Facebook, get involved, and make sure you invite all your friends to have a listen and subscribe on Spotify and all the major podcasting sites.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.
Rody and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.